Hey guys, this is McKinley Whitaker. I'm going to be going through my infographic for my PSP project with you guys. So I chose to do the Cedar High School Guidance Department, which is located at Cedar High School in Cedar City, which is close to SUU, and it's their school counseling department. And so I chose to do the Cedar High School Guidance Department because I've always been really interested in school counseling, and that's what I hope to do with my degree, and so that's why I chose it, so I could learn more about it and see what it's really like. So their mission statement is addressing the academic, personal / social, and career / developmental needs of students since 1940. And so next I'm going to go over with you guys a brief history of their department. So in 1898, the school started, and when it started, it was actually called Branch Normal School, and then it didn't officially become called Cedar High School until 1940. So that's how the name changed, but yeah, it's been around since 1898, the school itself. And then the next part is that school counseling emerged as a profession and a need in schools across America in the 1890s. That's when school counseling first emerged and started being practiced in schools regularly, and it was created to provide support to families. And then lastly, the American School Counseling Association, or the ASCA is what it's usually known as, created standards for school counseling, and they were published in the 1990s, and they had 3 core domains, which were academic, career, and personal / social. And those standards have been updated, but they are still the core standards that school counseling is guided by, and it's still run by the ASCA. So here's some program information. So there are 5 main goals of school counseling that I wanted to go over with you guys, and they are family support, academic achievement, career readiness, emotional support, and safety. And so family support, that can be classified as anything that the school counselor needs to communicate with the parents, that they find out in a counseling session or from other students about their child. It could also be that they may need to report family issues that are going on to family services, or if they need to report anything like that, or they can also do group counseling sessions with family members. So that all is part of the family support goal. And then for academic achievement, they help you, as many of you probably know, with class scheduling. They help you plan for your graduation. They help you if you're having issues with your attendance to get that made up and all of those sort of things. So that's all academic achievement. And then for career readiness, they help you with college prep. So figuring out how to apply to colleges, getting you set up with scholarships. They can help you do career tests, help you know what you want to major in, what you want your career to be, all those sorts of things. So that's all career readiness. And then emotional support is really where the counseling part comes in. So they do personal counseling to help you with any mental health issues that are going on or anything else. If you just need somebody to talk to, they can do counseling with your peers. So they do group counseling, or they can help you with things that you're going through with your peers or whatever. And that all is part of the emotional support goal. And then there's also safety. And so there are 2 main parts of safety, and that's the duty to protect and the duty to warn. So the counselor has a duty to protect, which means that if they hear something about you, or if you tell them something about you that is in danger to your safety, then the counselor has a duty to protect you, which often at times means that they need to call the police or report something. So if you tell them that you are feeling suicidal, that you are planning on committing suicide, then it is their responsibility to protect you by calling someone to help stop that from happening. And then the duty to warn, on the other hand, is to warn other people. So like if they find out that you are planning on harming someone else, then they have the duty to warn them that you are planning on harming them so that they don't get harmed. And then there are also the FERPA guidelines, which helps to keep all of their information private. And yeah. And then all of their goals are SMART goals, which I don't know if you guys have heard what SMART goals are, but basically they are specific, measurable, attainable, results-oriented, and time-bound. And so that's just the basis of what all of their goals are. Next, let's move on to the issues that are involved in school counseling, and there are a few of them. So first off, licensing. So there are a lot of licensing requirements that are involved with becoming a school counselor. For example, you have to have a minimum of a master's degree to be able to be a school counselor. On top of that, you have to pass the Praxis 5421 test with a score of at least 164 or higher. You also have to have a recommendation for a license from the university that you graduate with a degree from. And then you also have to have a professional educator license from the Utah State Board of Education with the school counselor area of concentration. So there are a lot of things that are required to be a school counselor. It's not, you can't just graduate and then get into that, which has been kind of an issue because of all of the things that are required. And then if you switch states as well, on top of that, you would need to get a new license for that state. And then with legal issues, there are also a lot of legal issues that are involved with school counseling. Like if school counselors aren't trained properly, or if they make a mistake, such as not following the duty to warn or the duty to protect responsibilities, or any of the other legal rules that school counselors have to follow, then they are likely to be prosecuted in a court of law. So there are the legal issues. Then there's the salary. So the average salary of a school counselor in Utah is about $46,830 on average, and there's a low of about $27,000 and a high of about $83,000, and that just depends on your location, how much experience you have, etc. So that's relatively low for how much schooling and licensing and things are required for that, which makes it an issue for schools across America to be able to find people who even want to be school counselors with that low rate. And so the salary is an issue that is involved with school counseling. Then lastly, with job opportunities, there are a ton of job opportunities available with school counseling because, so this picture shows the ratio of what it's like in Cedar of school counselor to students. So the recommended ratio is 1 counselor to 250 students, but in Cedar, it's a staggering 1 counselor to every 485 students. So there's a huge need for school counselors, as you can see. So next I'm going to go over my resources. I got resources that can be used for counselors, for the students themselves, and for the students' parents. And so with school counseling, the main issues that are going on in today's world with school counseling that they are facing seem to be mental health issues. And so that's what I focused on, is suicide, depression, and anxiety. And so my first genre of resources that I picked was TED Talks. And so a couple of TED Talks that I picked out, I'll just go over and show you guys really quick. So the first TED Talk is called The Bridge Between Suicide and Life, and it's a man named Kevin Briggs, who was an officer that patrolled the Golden Gate Bridge, which is where a lot of people choose to commit suicide. And so he was the one that responded to people who were seen acting suspicious there, and he would go and respond to it. And I just thought it was a really interesting resource that would be valuable for both students, parents, and all 3 students, parents, and counselors to be able to watch, because it just helps you to better understand suicide and the effects that come from that. Another TED Talk that I found is called How to Cope with Anxiety, and this one was super awesome. This girl, her name's Olivia, and she talks about anxiety and she talks about the ways that you can think about it differently in your mind, which helps you to be able to better be able to cope and handle that anxiety, and it actually lessens your feelings that are associated with that. And so I think this would be really helpful for students to be able to see that are struggling with anxiety, and if counselors would be able to give it to them, it would help them to be able to improve their levels of anxiety. And then my next type of resource was some books that I found. The first one is called You Are Not Alone. It's Hope for Hurting Parents and Troubled Kids. So this one I think would be especially helpful for the parents to be able to read because it's targeted towards them, and it's any parents of children who are having any sort of mental health issues. And then the next one is called Suicide Prevention, Intervention, and Postvention. And this one would be really helpful for students, counselors, and parents because it talks about suicide, the warning signs, all the basics of suicide, so that everyone can be able to understand it better and know what happens because of that. And then my next genre, I also found a few podcasts. I found 3 of them. So the first podcast is called The Dark Place, and it's all about mental health. So it's just really cool because you can listen in, and you could even go on the show yourself if you wanted to be a guest to talk about it. And it's not therapy, it's just an open place that helps you to be able to know that when you're struggling with these sort of things, you're not alone. And so that could be really helpful for the students at the school. The next one is called The Anxiety Guy, and it's a guy who has anxiety, and he talks about different tips to help get rid of anxiety, and that one would be really helpful as well. And then the last one is called Letters to My Kids, and it's a suicide survivor's lessons and advice for life. And this one I thought was really cool because it's from the perspective of someone who has tried to commit suicide but has survived that, and the experiences that he has had because of that. I think that would be something that would be really helpful for students to be able to look at. And then lastly, I found a couple articles that I thought were pretty good that I linked as well. The first one is about suicide in the media, and so nowadays the media is so involved in everything in students' lives, and so I think it would be helpful for them to read this article and understand how it impacts suicide rates. And then the next one was about anxiety disorders and anxiety attacks, and that one is just a really good overview of anxiety and how you can deal with that specifically at school. And so that one was really good as well. So there's all my resources. And then lastly, this is just a good quote that I thought was interesting about school counseling, and it says, "To the world you may be just a counselor, but to your students you are a hero." And I just thought that that was really cool because, at least for me, I have always been really interested in school counseling, and I've always loved my school counselors. They've helped me a lot, and so I definitely agree that they are heroes, and they are so needed in our society because there are so few of them. And so they really are heroes, and they do things to help these kids in so many different aspects of their lives. And so, yeah, this project was really awesome. I really enjoyed doing it. I learned so much more about school counseling, and I'm just glad I had the opportunity to complete this project. Hope you guys liked my infographic.